it's just any email. It doesn't. They're not going to be sending you propaganda or movies or anything like that. It's just to log that you guys' company is training and a good partner, you know. So.
They're not going to call me about my extended warranty, right?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning,
Start getting spam calls. Your Renai warranty has ended. The weird thing is those spam calls is I don't even know what the end game of them is.
No, yeah.
Like, what? How are they profiting?
I don't know. They're suckering somebody in.
I've never really made it to the end to figure out what the pitch is either. I guess maybe like a home warranty type thing.
Yeah, I never
for your
made
car.
I never made it too far. It's hanging out real quick.
Well, now they can call your phone without calling it and leave a voicemail.
Right. So
Who sold that one?
What?
That you were just
Plumbing? I'm not sure. It was in Emmett. It was sold for like $8,000 and then it turned into $22,000.
When was it?
It was set this last Monday, but it was set to install yesterday.
Yeah, I know which one that is.
What ended up happening to get it?
It was more than that.
That's what the board says is 22.
No, I think it's closer to 40 something.
That was off a 7-year-old tune-up, and I offered him a free plumbing inspection.
Yeah, no, I think Tim sold that one. And Josh.
Oh yeah, so Tim, they were waiting for the plumber, so that's why it's up to 40. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have two. I'm gonna have 40.
And it was supposed to be my car.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Tim requested me to go out.
Oh, for the plumbing.
Yeah.
Oh. I'm like playing up for the tune-up.
No, not for that. No, just to go out there and look at the plumbing. He had put my name on it. And then I was on another job and they said Josh. And I'm like, that was a good one.
Yeah, they had 2 wells, and they had no water pressure. Like, I could barely even wash the AC out. And then I'm like, how do your drip lines work? Because he has a well for his irrigation. He goes, they don't. I use half house water. I get about half through my drip.
I wonder if his pressure tank was... Still though,
One of them was
running.
one of the wells was only like 13 feet deep or 15 feet.
A little bit of redneck ingenuity.
Yeah. Like he was saying, he can't even do, like he wanted to do like a geothermal thing for his shop. And he's like, I can't because we can't even, I can't dig down far enough to do a coil.
Yeah. Huh, that's crazy.
I'm like, well, why don't you just water source it then?
Yeah, but then even still, you
Ridiculous
gotta,
amount of money.
yeah, plus you gotta, in that situation, you'd wanna dump it somewhere, dump the water somewhere.
Yeah.
But if you're only going 13 feet, that's really weird.
That is. One of his wells was deep, and the other one was, it was in between 13 and 18, but not more than 18.
No spam. We're just to log
But
it.
yeah, it literally had no pressure. I mean, I could barely wash the coil out.
Did he have filters or anything?
He had sand, like the sand filters, but they were new.
Yeah. I wonder,
They had just bought the house. It's like,
you know what? See, even if your pump's working, the pressure tank has to be set, but your pump should be able to crank up high enough to give them pressure. It makes me wonder if their pump is working correctly.
I don't know. I don't even know what they sold it for, but he said something about pressure tanks and a repipe.
And it's only 7 years old.
No, the system was. But it was just straight AC electric furnace. Well, that's what the ticket said. That it was
But the house is
12-year-old AC and a 10-year-old air conditioner.
And the house
House
is
is like 80 years old.
Oh, yeah.
And they have 2 electric water heaters like within 20 feet of each other.
Oh, wow.
One of them's overamping, and I'm like, why? It's a 1,000 square foot house with two 50-gallon electric water heaters.
Yeah.
I use one of those and
I'm
I
like,
bypass this
one in the
heater.
crawl and one
And
right
it's
next to
good.
the air
It was
handler,
like
and they both
2
work.
freaking months after that. I was so pissed at
Very
it.
weird.
Like,
Yeah.
the fish were
I'm like,
biting.
and it's
I was
all
so
galvanized.
upset.
Yep. Which is horrible.
Yeah.
Be sure and sign in if you haven't already, guys.
That's
And
awesome.
there's donuts and
That's
orange
awesome.
juice, and chocolate milk.
Give them just a few more minutes.
They got this
Yeah,
propane stove that these, and the door is like 200 pounds on it. And the hinges are broken, and you cannot buy them. They had to get the whole thing. It's like a commercial,
I'll see.
beautiful stove.
Sounds like they got dough.
300 pounds.
Yeah, it came from Washington. They don't have a lot of money, but the guy paints for a living, and he has written fly fishing books.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
He's a professional fly fisherman, and he does watercolor painting of fish, basically.
Then you can switch it and then you can grab
Huh.
it.
That's
But
cool.
yeah, I'll
Yeah,
walk
pretty
you
unique.
over. I could.
No doubt.
Let it rest. Call it good and grab it again.
So Sundays, do y'all be able to?
What's up, dude?
Sundays?
What's up?
Yeah, you're able to do it.
Were you on the way home the other day?
I don't know which days I'm on, which days I'm off.
Were you-
I'm just working
Were
whatever.
you on the way
Sometimes
home the other day?
Friday and then.
Yeah, so
Oh, yeah,
they'll
yeah.
call and ask like Josh.
Trying to avoid the freeway?
Saturday. Yes.
About turn.
I do every other weekend.
Yeah, he just told me,
I thought about pulling out and stopping right there.
And you know.
You better make sure, so they don't call you at 8 o'clock in the morning.
well, I'm not worried about it, I'll take the hours, I'm trying to buy a house by the new year, you know.
Believe it or not,
Put down on-
most of my sales are on Saturdays.
No doubt.
Yeah,
Oh, I love
because he doesn't let nothing go. He doesn't.
Oh, Brian's gonna look at,
It's always on Saturday.
When I got my insurance from dispatch the other day, I realized I don't have it in my glove box anymore.
all my kids are all moved.
But, Brian said he may have a copy, if not, he said to talk to you about it, ask if there's ever whatever company.
I don't understand what it's like, I need my truck all day by myself now.
I
call it AGI, and I just use my name, and they're like, oh
The 9 number, did you use your, so
They was telling me I debriefed.
most everyone does.
that was 3 years ago.
Call them and stuff.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
but AGI is the testing organization we use, and I like it when we get on certification.
Oh, yeah.
Brian said he may have it, but he's not.
I'm sure he does. Everyone that came in generally got, I received, here's Brian, and I give it
Yeah.
out.
I don't think I had the original. I think I-
Skylar, that cell, that's directly to you, huh?
That's my direct cell number. Feel free to call me anytime.
So I've been talking to you on the phone.
Dylan?
Yes.
Okay, how you doing?
How's it going?
Yeah.
Anything going on with Aspen yet?
No, I'm going back out there tomorrow.
Main strip phone, and then, another system, but looks like there might be a fifth one.
Huh?
There might be a fifth one. That might be,
Oh, wow.
yeah,
The, what would be another mini, or?
yeah. So right now it's like at 52.
52 minutes?
52,000. Yeah, yeah. So, trying to go very speed on the other ones.
And then hopefully,
Yeah.
that'll be huge. That'll be at a 50 and a 40 in a week. Yeah, well, the one I was just telling Dylan about was a 7-year-old tune-up, and I offered him a free plumbing inspection, and they sold the plumbing for $22,000, and Tim sold him a system.
Yeah, that was, Josh Vickery sold that.
Yeah.
That's right.
And that too, dispatch sent out a message about us calling Austin Cox on plumbing issues.
Yeah, so, I'm glad you brought that up. The reason for that is if you're out there, let's say you see a hose bib that's leaking, or you're underneath there, and you see that it's just you can tell what the repair is necessary on it. You can see where the leak is, you can see the pipe where it's coming from, or what the incident is. If that's the case, we'll probably just have you quote it while you're there. Rather than having to take
Plumber's time.
a plumber's time, because they're booked. I mean, we're booked out 4 days right now.
Yeah, Yeah, they had one appointment on Friday for yesterday when I needed them, and that was it, and then they were booked out, basically.
So, I mean, if it looks like something that, you know, this be easy, I can tell someone what this is and go ahead and quote it. And then we put it on the schedule to get someone out there to do it. But that's the reason.
Okay,
Yeah, they're doing.
I just know we don't need to be blowing up Austin.
I'm gonna ask him about that today. I did not hear that from him, but when it was brought to my attention, I asked who asked for that direction, and they said it came from Austin.
Okay.
So now I'll find out if.
Because the way it's worded, it
That's the way
says
Austin-
basically to call them on anything if you're out on an issue for plumbing, if it's lead or anything, basically, is how it's worded.
Yeah, I'll get some clarity on there, but yeah, if you run into something on there, and you know, it looks like, I don't necessarily need someone, I can tell what this is, may as well quote it, see if they want to take care of it.
Yeah.
I think that's more of what they're reading about. Maybe a few more.
2 more minutes.
Yeah.
I got 4 or 5 more running in.
Now. Good morning.
Sorry, let me check the door.
Hey, Wade.
Huh?
I'm going. Sign in, would you, if you're just coming in, please sign in so you get credit for the meeting. Come on in, folks.
Yeah, chance to shoot it.
Yeah.
That's all right, again.
That's
I'm not even bragging. I was on just like.
So, yeah, Wade,
Give you
we got that.
There should be
The
a
only
couple
problem is I
there.
can't shoot all the time, it's the bullets.
It's one right here.
But I'm gonna buy another gun tomorrow.
So plumbing and a technician.
I'm gonna buy a 238 if I can find the shells for it. I'm not buying it.
No, we haven't.
Dude, if you find something chambered in 454, I can find everywhere.
Well, I got it too.
I mean, I can find it everywhere right now.
Well, I have a gun that's for sale at, what's it called? Cabela's, the 450 SOCOM. They are.
Why not? It's just money.
Shit, I'm gonna buy it. Order it.
They're made here, I don't know.
Gemtech? No, I want to fucking candy. That's not shoot and scare the shit out of everybody within a mile radius.
Just get yourself a Barrett then. Why
I'm
not?
not going that high.
Why not?
Barrett's the only ammo that hasn't changed. As far as,
Yep.
For 5 rounds, it's almost $40.
Yeah, I know, but
You get what you pay for.
that's 5 holes this big.
yeah.
Hey, you have 22.
No, hell no, I'm not buying Barrett.
For when somebody's breaking into his house.
I can't even fit that in this my truck.
You gotta shoot through your neighbor's house or your other neighbor's house to take care of an intruder, just in case.
I live in a townhouse, I'll shoot through all 3 of them.
That's what, like, my house, like, my shotguns, they're birdshot loaded. If I'm something I'm gonna grab for defense, because I'm not gonna put through all my walls, like, kill
Could you
someone.
imagine somebody breaking into my house with a 50 caliber house?
I just hear that all
Call
side.
my PD, no fucking something going on.
You're so loud, no one wants to.
He just got a mounted gun at the end of his bed, just to jump onto it, right for the doorway.
30 cal belt.
20 mil.
My buddy put welded a swivel mount on top of his side by side, so he could just throw a mount on there and just cruise with a gun. Or just a stabilizer, whatever. It is awesome. So he goes around, he'll do explosive targets and just fly by and just shoot explosive targets.
When I lived in Texas, our neighbor across the street had a Toyota little ammo. What they would do is they would go down there and hammer the hole.
Yeah.
That's the back of the camera was on. Just sneaking around.
You can buy it, but it's got a little
Yeah.
$4,600.
I was wondering what y'all buy on that channel.
Oh, you, that'd be sick.
Oh, down in South Texas?
Yeah.
I've done that once.
Been no tell on it.
You better be ready to run through some bullets. You broke. Now you broke.
He's sitting down there
Hey guys, so for those of you guys that don't know me, I'm Skyler with MJM. We are the Rocky Mountain reps for Renai. Tankless water heaters, boilers, furnaces, all the things they do. On your front sheet that I left with all you guys, there's a really important number. It's for the Renai technical support. It's the contractors only line. That will get you first in line, so you don't have to sit and wait behind homeowners or anyone else that's complaining. That's your number one go-to spot. So if you're having problems with the unit, don't feel like, I don't know, like, I'm good enough, I can figure this out. Call them, they'll put a case number up for you, they'll know what's going on. So you go back again, they'll say, oh yeah, it looks like you called 2 weeks ago, flame sensor's been going out, or gas pressure's off, or whatever, and they can fill it out, they can get you the warranty, they'll ship you new parts next day. Everything's better if you go through there, they will keep track of everything for you. So that's when I would log in your phone and have on you at all times when you're working with Renai. For those of you guys that don't know, Renai just hit their 100-year anniversary last year. They are the world's leading gas supplying manufacturer around the world. Now I'm froze. Here's our product lineup. You guys usually do residential, but we have some demand duos for big, large commercial stuff. And there are some you can use in some large residential homes as well. Instead of using 2 or 3 Renai units, tankless water heaters, you can have this is basically a tankless strapped onto a tank. So keep that in mind if you have them. They're way more expensive, but there's applications where that works. So, little BV furnaces, boilers, tankless water heaters, which we're basically going to cover those, and hydronic air handlers. Basically, it's the hydronic coil furnace, no gas burners inside the furnace. This is just heating up that coil, a little warm air. So I don't know if you guys ever get called for those, but they're blowing up.
Right. We work on some hydronics,
Not a ton.
most of them aren't hooked to tankless, but.
Full commercial lineup. You guys don't do much of that, but if you do end up running into something, we have everything you need. Our engineering department will design it for you, stand by it. If they mess up, they'll send you more units. It's a really good program. Here's our residential lineup. So we have 2 different models, so the RU and the RURs. The RUs are no recirc pump, and the extra R stands for the recirc pump. And they go from 130,000 BTUs all the way up to 199. So they don't have to be classified as a boiler. But they starting at a 15K BTU, and they go up in 1 BTU increments until it fills to its full max. Let's say like 130, then that's as much as it can go. Your bread and butter is probably the RU199. You guys use a lot? You guys know? 199 is probably your good one, and that's probably the best one.
Is that 2358, right?
Price?
No.
Oh.
The number.
The 2358? I don't, whoever your supplier is, they probably have different part numbers for it, but our part number is RU199I, and then N for natural gas or P for propane. Full commercial lineup, they start at 160 to 199. You guys don't do much of those.
Nope.
In 2017, they redid the whole thing so that everything is, like you'll go on some and you have a whole bunch of wires. That's on the older models. They're wrapped around, takes you forever to get through it. Now everything can be removed and put back together within an hour and a half. You could have this whole thing pulled out and put back together if you guys have ever done it. It takes a little bit longer if it's your first time, but any part in here can probably be taken out in 15 minutes. If it was just a gas valve, it'd be like 5 minutes to pull out. So, really easy to maintain, really easy to work on. Some of the product features, I'll just go over a couple. The main one's the child and function lock. So if the water's running, homeowner, they have a kid that's bad or something that wants to like pump up the water heat and burn somebody in the shower, they can't do it. As soon as the water turns on, it locks in the temperature that you have it previously set for. and they can go down to freeze protection to -22. So inside the unit, they have little ceramic heaters that will keep the pipes from freezing. Won't keep your pipes going to the water heater from freezing, but the tankless itself will not freeze. So, and if it does, we'll warranty it. Activation rate on all of them is 0.4 gallons. So if you have a faucet that's not doing 0.4 and that's all they're running, it's probably not going to kick on this tankless. And it shuts off at 0.26 gallons per minute. So it'll run until the water gets below 0.26, shut the meter off. On a residential unit, the max temperature is 140, but they come factory set at 120. So if you have a homeowner that likes really hot showers, you have to go into the parameters and set it up to 140. I'll show you guys how to do that. Commercial can go to 185, which will burn you. All of them come with an isolation valve kit. Make sure you put those on. They're better for maintenance. I don't know if you guys don't.
Yeah,
I'm
they're
sure you
all-
guys put them on all of them. So
We do.
they come in a box. Some guys don't care and they throw them away. It's
They can't
ridiculous,
flush
but you can't flush them without it. You'll be going back. In all models, you can go from natural gas to propane. You can switch them back and forth easy. They come out of the box, set up for either one, but it's just a grommet and an orifice. I'll show you guys how to replace that if you need to. So all it is 3 screws on the gas valve. You pull this little grommet, they call it an orifice, but it doesn't look like your regular orifice. You switch it, natural gas, propane. You stick it in, 3 screws on, set the parameters on the unit, and it's good to go. So when you guys are going to install, these are things that you guys need to look at. Your number one thing is gas. You have the right amount of gas. Because if you're putting in a 199,000 BTU unit, but you don't have enough gas for it, it's not going to reach it. It's going to do 130, it's going to do 100. And the homeowner's going to be unhappy, you guys are going to be having callbacks. You're going to think it's the unit, and it's just going to be the gas supply. Make sure you can do your venting. Make sure you can do 2-pipe system or single pipe system. If you do a single pipe system, just make sure you have plenty of room air to go in. Commercial. So here's your 4 main things you need to be watching out for when you're installing. Make sure you have enough water pressure and gas pressure. Gas pressure, I can't say it enough. Most of the times when we have problems, there's not enough gas. Not enough gas. A lot of guys go in and there was something old in there, and they just say, okay, I'm going to hook up exactly how the gas was before. They didn't check. There's a fireplace now that the homeowner's added on. You know what I mean? A gas dryer, or I don't know. And if everything's, or a grill, they add on an outdoor grill. And if everything's burning and they want hot water, it's going to suck away from it. So make sure the meter and everything's set up. 120 electricity, pretty simple. So water. Minimum water pressure, 50 PSI. I'm sure you guys don't have that problem out here very much, but in some parts of the country, it's around there, so they have to boost it. Your max is 150 PSI, but the golden spot is between 60 and 80 PSI is where these things run its best. So if you need to regulate that, keep an eye for it. Water quality. Brunei will warranty even if you don't put a water softener in front of it, but you need to maintain it. Because if you have hard water, I don't know what your guys' grain of hard water is out here.
20 something.
20.
We average 7 to 10 here, over east is averages.
So they consider everything over 11 hard water. So 7 to 10, you guys should still be putting them on a maintenance plan. I don't know if that's something you guys do or not, or having someone else go out and do it, but they should be flushed quite often. Once a year, twice or 7, you can probably get away every 2 years on it, but it's all up to you.
Just flush the heat exchanger, right?
Yep, flushing the heat exchanger. You guys do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
What kind of liquid you want us to use?
So they only recommend, you can use anything. You can use like New Calgon or whatever you guys have from the supply house, but all you really have to use is white vinegar.
That's what we use.
All day, every day.
Yeah,
That's all they ask for.
That's
White
all we
vinegar.
use is vinegar.
Yep. So,
We've had a couple we use the other stuff.
yeah, you can use that other stuff and it's fine,
Yeah.
but white
It
vinegar,
doesn't work any better.
no, it doesn't work any better. White vinegar works great. So.
It's cheap too.
And it's cheap.
Yeah.
So. Gas supply, I keep saying it over and over, but gas is the biggest thing. 3/4 in, make sure you have a 3/4 O or ID flex going to it. So
You got a lot of those 5/8.
5/8 and
A lot
stuff.
of them,
Yeah.
a lot of them are, the 3/4.
And then all you're doing is
ends, but
suffocating the gas going into the system, and then it can only produce as much as you're giving it. A lot of other brands claim, and we used to 1/2 inch you could put into there, but you're not going to get. We still recommend 3/4 inside diameter on that. Condensate. Are you guys putting a T or a gap on your guys' condensates when you guys an air gap?
I don't know if they're air gapping them or not.
You
It
should.
depends.
What?
If they have a circulation pump or.
You do. You should always, they recommend always putting some sort of air gap in there. The condensate, if they have a large soaker tub or something, or like a large shower, if they're running it for over like an hour, you got a kid in there for an hour, the condensate will fill up and shut the unit down. By the time they get out and dry off and run down and see what's wrong with it, it's already reset itself and fired back up, and then they call you guys. You go out there, there's no code. It's just the condensate filling up and shutting the unit off, because it won't even throw a code for it. So keep an eye on that when you're doing it. So. Your isolation valves come with the unit. These are key for maintenance in the future. I don't know why anybody wouldn't throw them on, but some guys are lazy and chuck them in the garbage. I'm sure you guys do not, but make sure you're always putting those on. So on your circulation loops, there's one thing you need to do when they come with a plug in there. Right here, it's a filter on your hot water outlet. You guys will need to take those out and put the filter in. It comes all there. You just take out the plug, put a filter in for your recirc loop. I don't know if you guys have done that. I know I've talked to Dylan about it before, and he's done it, but if you guys run into that, you guys absolutely need to do that.
It doesn't matter if he has a dedicated circulation pump or not, right? Because we talked to Dylan about this, because if you don't have a dedicated circulation pump, I don't think they use that, right?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, it's for when you have like a thermal bypass.
Yeah,
Yeah, and not a dedicated loop coming
Yeah.
through. You are correct on
yeah.
that. On the RUR models, they do come with the thermal bypass in the box. You can use it if you are doing it. If not, you have your dedicated loop. This is how you guys would do it. So you take your furthest line or your furthest faucet, and that's where you want to put your thermal bypass on that. If not, you just have your dedicated recirc loop. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Sorry guys. I was going to bring a projector, but my cord somehow got lost or stolen, or I forgot it. This is an accessory you guys can buy for your dedicated recirc loops. Most guys just build these themselves. Or you can buy another brand, it doesn't really matter. We sell them. I don't know if anyone around here even stocks them.
Oh, I like that. It's got the check valve built right into it.
Yep, it does. So that's good.
Yeah.
And they're fairly inexpensive. Standard might have brought them in. I don't know, you might want to check with them. But so if you are doing those, it's nice to have one pre-built. But if not, you can build your own, buy another brand.
I've had to make them, but I don't know if they stock them over
Yeah, a lot of guys just make their own. Yep. Infill. Lots of different venting options. This is important. You can concentric horizontal, you can concentric vertical, you can tube pipe, you can snorkel down. You just want to make sure you got that it's leveling back to the unit and not dipping down in certain spots, creating water. I'm sure you guys all know what you're doing with your venting, but just follow the installation manual and it will get you there. So, single pipe system you can do as well. That's if you have enough combustion air in the rooms. So most places around here, I think, do, because if it used to have an 80% furnace, it usually has combustion air coming in, and that's what everyone used to have around here. You can run 2-inch PVC up to 65 feet and 3-inch up to 150 feet. You guys probably do not use that, so that doesn't matter, but you can use polypropylene, more expensive. Eventually, the market's gonna go back that way. They're gonna set codes for it. But as of right now, you can just use your standard PVC and run it. This is when you're doing more than one unit, which you guys don't do a lot of, but just so you know, when you're deducting for elbows and stuff, you don't have to start counting because you have a bunch of elbows here. You don't have to like deduct 6 feet or 45 on a 45, 3 feet. You start counting after you pass your last unit. So then you got your 65 feet per 2-inch or 150 per 3-inch. Same thing on non-direct. This is your controller, this is your baby. This is where you can set all your parameters and everything you guys need. Back in the day, they used to have dip switches. You'd have to sit and flip dip switches that can all just be controlled right here. So for setting up your parameters, this is huge. So a lot of guys don't know this. You just go in and press your control board. On the A, there's 2 buttons here. It's an A and a B. You hold it down and press the up button for a second. It will get you here. So this will say parameter 1, and I'll show you guys a little bit more. And then you have A, B, C, D options. So when you pull that unit out from the box, it comes set up all in the A. Everything is A. Can you guys see where a problem might be for where you guys are here if you don't change something? So the altitude. So it's coming up from 0 to 2,000 feet out of the box. It's not going to run right if you guys don't switch that to, we're B here, right? Yep. So you can set on parameter 3, you can set service soon. So it'll look like a 5.5 that comes up to the homeowner, but you can set it for a year, 2 years. That's meaning it'll just start beeping at them. You guys come out, service it, reset it. So a lot of guys just leave it disabled and then just call them when it's time to service.
I like it even that.
The last time we were doing this class, Dylan brought this up. This is backwards. So they come out of the box economy. And for some reason our slide says comfort. And even the owner's manual or the installation manuals will say comfort. Not anymore, they changed it, but if you have some older units out there.
Yeah, I think it's just on some of the older ones.
Yeah. How I remember, I go A for economy, B for comfort. But I don't know, you guys probably won't remember that. But that's how it is. So if you read it, it's going to be backwards. It's always set for economy. Comfort just runs the research mode more often. And you can always, and if you change to LP, you can always change from natural gas to LP. You just got to go, once you change the orifice out, you just come in here and set that parameter to either A or B. So it's that simple. It takes maybe 5 minutes to change it back and forth. On the maximum flow rate, you guys will never need to put it to high. That's for places that's got like high water temperature, like El Paso, Texas, where their water coming out of the ground is like 80 degrees instead of, what are we here, 50, 55, something like that.
Yeah,
Something.
55, 58.
Yep. Here's some of your diagnostic codes. This is the biggest one right here. We get 10 all the time. Or 11. You guys get 11 too. 10 and 11. 10, the most common thing is that condensate trap filling up. Like I said, without the trap, it will, someone's running a big shower, kids sitting in there for an hour and a half, doing whatever they want to do. It will block that condensate, shut it off. They'll get out of the shower, they'll call their dad, or the mom will run down, dry off. By the time she gets to the unit, won't even show anything on there. And you're going, what the heck? And you guys are going to come out, there'll be no codes. Sometimes there'll be a code if it does it over and over, but if it's just 1 or 2 times, it won't, and you'll show a 10.
You had brought up an air gap before on there that it's necessary for the air gap. Are we putting air gap on?
They are, because what they're doing is they're using CPVC and they're coming up and they're just going around that little nipple that sticks out.
Okay.
It's got a little barbed fitting on there, so they could hook tubing right to it, but instead of doing that, they are putting the pipe over it and then supporting the pipe. So it is technically...
Okay. And if you guys aren't getting a bunch of callbacks on it, then you guys are probably doing it right.
But if you send it over, it's not going to be near.
We go to a lot of places, and that's the biggest problem you guys have. They just don't do that. So.
Yeah, they stick these 3/4.
Like he said, 11 is your next biggest one that you're going to see. So if you go into the manual, it'll show you all the most common things that it can be.
Usually the fresh air.
Fresh air, yep, your intake,
They
yep,
put in the closet in the garage
yep.
or something, you know.
Something's blocking it, kid throws a softball in there,
Or the low water pressure too.
and low water pressure, yep.
Or if you don't have a check valve.
You're right. Yep, always make sure when you guys installing them or servicing them, or is this
Servicing.
service crew?
Most of us are.
Okay. We do get this one sometimes up around here. So the Venturi will sometimes through the intake will suck in cottonwood, pollen, dust. With construction going on, it will block and this will come up, this will shut off. So you either can just check your fresh air intake, or sometimes you have to take the Venturi out and clean it up. Not very often. There is a filter, which I'll show you guys, that tries to catch the majority of stuff, but it's not too tight. So it'll get like bugs and bigger stuff, but not the teeny particles. So I don't know if you guys are doing this or leaving it up to the homeowner. The office does it. You guys upgrade. You guys register every single one.
Yes,
Okay,
we do.
because that gives you your labor for an extra 4 years, other than
Yeah, that wouldn't apply to
any of these guys.
That's all
Okay,
in our
they
office.
do that stuff. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, our admin department.
If you guys are going out to service, let's say you keep getting fault codes, you can't figure it out, you can set your own. It's called free fault or a forced fault. So you can put that in there, leave, and then when they say, oh, I'm having problems again, you can come back and this will get stuck in like the queue, basically. And you can see since you were last there and set this code in there, you've had a 10, an 11, or whatever else has happened since then. So you can set your own thing, because it doesn't tell you date and time or when it does that. So it's a really good one to have, I would say, if you're going back on multiple calls with the same homeowner, same house. You can also pull performance data through your control board. You can see how many gallons it ran through it. All that information is there for you to see. So,
It has a Wi-Fi, I mean, can we put the accessory Wi-Fi on it so we can download it on the phone?
to get this performance data, you cannot pull this performance data through the Wi-Fi. You can see everything else. You can see fault codes, but you can't see, oh, they ran 10,000 gallons of water through it this year, you know. But on the actual unit, you can go down and you can see. So it will show you stuff like you can do live when you're sitting in front of the unit. You can check how many gallons per minute are going through the unit. The decimal will never be there, so it'll say like 5.2, like 52, and you just got to pretend there's a decimal in there. 5.2 is your water flow rate that you got going through at the moment. You can see your outgoing temperature, everything. So Renai's big thing is they always want to keep whatever you have set on the control board, we're trying to keep plus or minus 2 degrees for the reason of not burning anybody or being too cold.
So actually the Wi-Fi is only, you can access to the circulation pump to adjust the circulation pump, what time it comes on, what time it shuts off.
And you can set some of the parameters.
And the-
Yep. But you can't look at performance stuff like what's our water flow going through at the moment.
But
Does your homeowners give you guys access to it? Because some contractors do. They have access to the homeowner's Wi-Fi, so they can,
Yes.
when they call, you can look it up and see.
I did
Well, I can see
ask-
what's going on right now for you. So,
It shows.
Yep.
I did look at that.
yep. So a few maintenance things. We talked about that filter that's catching most of the stuff that's going to go down into the inducer motor. There's a little filter right here. All you got to do is open the front door, pull it out. You can check it, you can clean it. Water, air, gas, you know what I mean? And just make sure you dry it off, put it back in all nicely. So when you're always doing maintenance, always check that filter before you run flush on it or anything else. That's what I would do. So.
So why Renai doesn't want us to reset it by that pin, to push the pin to reset? They want always to unplug it to fully reset it,
To reset it for
for the control board.
the control board when you want to reset the whole thing, like back to basically factory
And
setting.
then I called them, I said I reset the control board, I called Renai just 2 weeks ago. and I reset the controller because there is a pin,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to have a sharp to push it.
Yeah, uh-huh.
So I did reset, but I called them, they said, no, that reset is not good, you have to on.
Yeah, I think it only resets it for a certain period of time. I'm not 100% positive on that. If they're telling you to pull it out of the wall and just let it freeze and drop out completely, that's probably the best way to do it. So I think maybe it just resets it for the time being, but then it's gonna kick back in and hold all of its programs and everything. I think that's the reason for it. Always when you're doing maintenance on it, there's a cold water filter you guys can check and clean out. Get out particulars. The littlest thing can slow you down your water. You know what I mean? If you got, I don't know, someone cut the line to do some other maintenance and there's a leak or there's shards of copper in there, it will slow your water flow down big time. So always take that out and clean it. There's your other filter for your recirc side. Check that when you're doing maintenance as well. The good thing is when you're flushing this thing, it gives you an hour. You know, I don't know if you guys do 45 minutes or an hour, but gives you an hour to check the venting, check all the filters. While you're sitting there waiting for that thing to flush, that's when I go check all these things. Here's a quick little cheat sheet. I'm going to show you guys a video how to flush. I'm sure you guys all know, but I'll show it to you. These are the 3 tools that you guys will only need to service these things. You don't even need 2 screwdrivers. Just one will do the whole thing. A manometer, check your gas pressure, and then all your electrical stuff. A multimeter. So that's all it takes. Sorry guys. I'm going to show you a quick video. It'll let me. That's fine. It's alright, I'll just turn mobile hotspot.
Probably 5, 8, 6, 8.
It's either right now or 586.
Convert it to the LP.
Hi, I'm Joe Plummer.
Gas station.
Today we are going to learn how to
So you
flush the
put it- you
Renai
have to
tankless
adjust
water
the
heater.
gas station.
But first, we are going to need a few things to
No.
help us out.
No, it will work it for you. Just on the parameters on the control board, you'll go back and set it to LP.
And 4 gallons of food grade white vinegar. Now that you have all of your materials, you will need to ensure that this is disconnected from power and the flow servos are open. First, unplug the water heater and wait 20 seconds. Plug it back in for another 20 seconds and listen for the flow servo to open. Now unplug the water heater again. After you have done that, close the isolation valves for the cold inlet and hot outlet. Next, connect the washer hoses to the service ports on the isolation valves. The cold side will connect to the pump and the hot side will drain into the bucket. Now pour 4 gallons of food-grade white vinegar into your bucket, then turn on the pump. This will need to flush for a minimum of 45 minutes to an hour. This is a great opportunity for additional maintenance such as cleaning the fan, inspecting the venting, etc. After you have thoroughly flushed the unit with vinegar, you now need to flush out the vinegar residue. To do so, disconnect the hose to the cold inlet and ensure you have a drain for the flushed water from the hot outlet. Open the cold isolation valve and let fresh water run through the unit for up to 5 minutes. After that, close the cold side again. Remove the hose from the hot side. Now, With both valves still closed, don't forget to clean and replace the inlet water filter. You can now reopen both cold and hot isolation valves to restore service to the structure. Of course, ensure the service ports are closed, otherwise you are going to make a rather large mess. You've just seen the proper way to flush the Rinnai tankless water heater. Thanks for watching, and if you have questions regarding this or any other training, please call us at 1-800-621-9419 or email training@rinnai.us.
That's it. Nice and simple. So, if you guys can get all your details, that will got guys up in their system, and there's training, tons of different training.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's right off there.
Right off of there. You guys can pull all this stuff up. But I will send you just this video so you can, it's a good one you can text out to your text, you know what I mean, and just, sure. You guys have any questions? The biggest thing is, if you guys are running into problems, that number on there to tech support, call them. They'll open up a case number, they'll know what's going on the next time you guys come out. If you guys have been out there like 5 times and you're like, screw this, I'm calling tech support, and they're like, oh, this is the first time we've heard of it. You know what I mean? Right. And if they're like, oh, this is your 3rd time, yeah, you definitely have a problem. We're sending you new heat exchanger, overnight it. You know what I mean? They're so much easier to work with if you guys call them and open that stuff up with them.
So it seems like when you install these new, you have to set dip switches. Is that?
Sorry, say that one more time.
Dip switches?
These have 0 dip switches in them.
They used to.
Rinnai's don't. I don't know about other brands. I don't know if you guys are doing Navi on it all. I don't know what those
dip
guys.
switches that's inside the controller 3, just to adjust.
Yeah, just to, there's a couple, there's not even dip switches, they're just buttons you pull and hold.
There's no
and
dip switches to set with the recirc line and those.
Nope, that's all done on the control board on the front, so. It's going there.
And how about expansion tanks? In Washington, they made us use these little, they call them ST1s.
Yep. So, the only reason why they do expansion tanks like that is because the codes haven't caught up. Those are all from like, when everyone just had tank water heaters, you'd have to have those, and the codes have not changed, so they're just saying, continue using them. So we're just following code. If you want, I don't know what your guys' code is here in Utah, they're still doing expansion tanks on everything, so. Even on your tankless, so. I don't see, there's no real reason to for a tankless, because there's not all this pressure building up in there, it's only flowing through, but on a tank, but they just haven't changed the
Those
code.
little softball sized ones are a lot cheaper than the
bigger ones.
ST5s, yeah.
Yep. So you can still put them on there for insurance, you know what I mean? Or an upsell if you wanted to, but I don't see a need to, and if they're not asking for code, you're probably okay with that. So. Thanks for your time, guys. I left you all my cards. Give me a call. If you don't feel like calling tech support, call me, and if I can't answer it, then I'm just going to send you tech support. So I'm on the road a lot, so sometimes I don't pick up. Leave a message. I'll get back to you. Anytime, any day. No biggie. So.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
Grab a donut.
Donut juice. If not, they're going home to myself.
You guys hold up. Just 1 second before we get started. Wade, you can probably get going on there. I'm sure Ollie has something. Is there anything you wanted to go over with him this morning on technical? We got probably 15 minutes.
On the spot, Ollie, let's go. So as far as the diagnosing, make sure we call Mr. Broken. We don't want to leave the house without diagnosing. So if the system is frozen again, we got to find out why caused it to freezing. So before we leave, we got to check all the dampers stuff. The one thing that's very important, they install the discharge sensor or freeze sensor right after code. That sensor has to be at least 7 to 15 feet away from the code. So instead of going to the crawl space and put it right like 10 feet away from the code, they just put it right at the code. That sensor, it shuts off when the temp reaches to 48 degrees, that discharge sensor. So if we remove that sensor, so we can't control the system. That system may freeze up again. So we have to come up with the freeze state. So we put the freeze state. If you you know, if that sensor keeps giving us problem on the zone board, it flashes, it shuts off the system, comes back on. So we need just to, you know, remove that sensor and put the freezer stat. And the freezer stat, we cannot install the freezer stat to the zone board, because the freezer stat and the discharge sensor is two different things. It's one of the base of temp, another based on the resistance. So if we put the freezer stat on it, make sure we cut the Y to the unit and install between Y. So we make sure we don't leave the system without freezer stat or discharge sensor, otherwise that system will freeze up. Especially the system does not have a biometric damper. So if there is a room in the house, we always want to count the vents upstairs, see how many vents we have. If we have less than 4 or 5, like 3 vents, we definitely looking to put the biometric damper. Otherwise, it keeps freezing. So noise, the noise from the vents, push all the downstairs damper shuts off and push all the air upstairs. It makes a lot of noise. It causes the system to freeze up. You know, it's not always like, you know, it's low on refrigerant when it freezes up. The other things I was going to bring it to your attention is the TXV. TXV is the most misdiagnosed. So if you put your gauge on it, you see the suction pressure is too low. You cannot just force the TXV by adding the liquid refrigerant to the system. So if you add more liquid to the system, you may cause the TXV to open, but you overcharge the system. That is not going to work. Always your suction is going to be low. So you may want to pump it down. You may want to pump the system down and go back to the TXV and convert the TXV to piston. That's the easiest things we can do. So there was a call, a bunch of calls. It was a bad TXV, and they sent me there for leak station repair. If it's not always the low pressure, is the suction pressure is low, it doesn't mean it has a low on refrigerant or, you know, is leaking. You got to think out of the box. So what is it? If you add the refrigerant, the suction doesn't go up, it means something different, which is this TXV. So always has a, you know, diagnose. If you call Mr. Volkan, he tells you remove the sensing valve if you want to check the TXV. And there has a process to check that TXV. But easiest way to pump down the system and then remove the TXV and convert it to piston. Make sure we have all the piston size, and I think Mr. Volkan provides so many kit, the piston kit in his office. You can grab it, you can ask him to take one of them with you. And then for R22, so if there is a bad TXV, we use different size of piston, you know, and there is a chart, and you have to call Mr. Volkan. For example, if for 410A, like 2-ton unit, we used 57 piston, right? R22, we used 65 piston. It's different. You always need to communicate with Mr. Volkan, and he tells you, you know, exactly what kind of piston you have. So it's always not the, you know, we tell customers it's leak search and repair is low on refrigerant, but we gotta look carefully, we gotta diagnose it right while we are at the customer. You know, we are going back there and we can't convert the piston because it's a carrier unit. So make sure we diagnose it right at the same. We had lots of calls during the summertime, you know. Mr. Volkan is not always, you know, he can't always answer his phone because he's with some other technician. Make sure there is a chart. Mr. Dunn made it last year, and we have made it for this year too. So that chart, it tells you what's your pressure, what's suction pressure, what is liquid pressure, what is the compressor amps draw, what is your superheat and subcooling. You write down everything before you calling him. That way he doesn't need to wait for you to hook up your gauge. Now what is your superheat? It takes a lot of time. When you get to the customer, you provide all this information before you calling him. And then that process is going to be easy, and you can go with some other technician in the field too. Hopefully we have a great summer. I mean, your guys' knowledge, our knowledge is increasing every day because of the good training we have here. Hopefully we are reducing the callbacks or customer upset by adding our knowledge. The training is the best. I recommend everybody show up at the training, technical training, and the Mr. Gunn training is wonderful. And as a matter of fact, I was gonna share with you guys the training, every training Mr. Cox and the management provide for us, it costs minimum $5,000 every single training. We get paid for 1 hour, right? On the other hand, end of the day, we are not gonna get to our customer. It's like 2-3 hours overtime they pay us because of the training. So we make sure, in the training we are here, we gotta use it. We gotta increase our knowledge. Then just be here. Please just pay attention to every single training we have. It's expensive training. It's your knowledge. You increase your knowledge, you take care of customer faster and quicker. You can go up to 10 calls a day. Thank you so much. That's all I had to say. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Don't forget your shoe covers, stickers, PPE. Make sure you look good, smell good, behave well.